With the debate about the Confederate flag still raging, another state has chosen to take it down from its capital. In this case, it is Alabama making the move that we certainly agree with, although perhaps not for the same reasons that they chose to take it down. And we're also going to show you the response from the right to these right-wingers choosing to remove the flag. So first, here's the governor of Alabama saying that he was motivated partially by the massacre of 9 black churchgoers last week in Charleston, South Carolina. That was part of the inspiration, I suppose. And then he says this is the right thing to do. We are facing some major issues in the state regarding the budget and other matters that we need to deal with. This had the potential to become a major distraction as we go forward. I have taxes to raise, we have work to do, and it was my decision that the flag needed to come down. Did he really say I have taxes to raise?
I know. It's a new day in America when the governor of Alabama is taking down the Confederate flag and says one of the reasons is because he's got taxes to raise.
Yeah, it's like, get out of here with the flag. I got to raise some taxes.
Okay, and
Thanks,
he's a
Obama.
Republican, Governor Robert Bentley. Okay, God bless. Makes sense. I'm glad he did it. Of course,
Glad he did it.
They put that flag up on those grounds back in 1963, not 1863. In 1963.
Because of complete coincidence. No reason. Didn't have anything to do with what was going on in the country.
I wonder what was happening in 1963. Well, of course, Governor George Wallace was fighting segregation of Alabama and wanted to make a statement and say, we don't want to mix the races. That's why we'll put up the Confederate flag. So it's past time to bring down the flag in Alabama. But I'm glad that he decided to do it on his own. He's a Republican. Give him credit.
Yeah.
He's going to take some heat for that. He's going to take some heat for the reasons he did it. And obviously a lot of people agree as well. So good on him.
Yeah. No, he made the right move. Now, many members, non-politicians, members of the media, are still doubling down on defense for the Confederate flag, even though we've seen many major retailers, even Amazon, is going to be stopping with Confederate flag sales, although now they're spiking, like up 1,000, 2,000%. But still, there are those in the media who are going to go down with that ship. The first is going to be Bill O'Reilly, who's been saying a lot of crazy stuff about the Confederate flag recently, what it represents, the bravery of the soldiers of the Confederacy. In this video, he's going to be speaking with Kirsten Powers on Fox. It gets a little bit tense as they talk about what the flag and defense of the flag actually represents.
First of all, we've had this conversation before. I do think that racism is a serious issue in this country, and I don't know why you are so unable to see that. And
because I don't think it's an epidemic of racism. I don't think it's ingrained in the society, and every country on earth has racist elements in it. Wouldn't you concede that? Every country on the planet has racist elements within it.
But what does that have to do with anything?
It has to do with it. You can't have a perfect world, Kirsten.
But it doesn't mean, well, you're making two different arguments. I mean, is it we're racist and so is everybody else? Or
No, we're not
everybody
racist.
else is racist, but we're not racist.
We don't have a system where racism is acceptable at all. We don't.
Well, no, it's not acceptable, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
All right, so you want a nirvana, a perfect country where everybody is open-minded and benevolent. The world is being told by anti-American haters that we are a rank racist society, and that is a lie. All right, you, Monica.
If he hadn't made the first part of the argument, then, I still don't agree with him, but it's a more interesting debate. But when he says, now you have to acknowledge everyone else in the world is racist. And then he adds, but we're not.
But we're not.
Oh, so wait, America's the only non-racist country. Come on, dude. I mean, have you no bounds of reason?
Pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to say, hey, there's racism in all the countries, and obviously we have it here as well, but we're trying to combat it. There's nothing official, and there's no law that says you should do it. Okay, then you're making a legitimate point. But to say everyone else in the world is racist except us. It's comical. How does he not see it's comical?
Yeah, and I think it's kind of even if that was the point that he was making, I think it's kind of a senseless point, unless what you're fighting against is completely irrational attempts to stamp out racism. You're talking about something like, hey, how about we not have the state government seem to lend official support to a secessionist movement and the lingering history of their racism and their willingness to go to war and kill and die for their racism. That's not unreasonable. And so there's no point in bringing up the fact that everybody has some racists. Yes, okay, fine, everybody has some racists. I would prefer if that flag wasn't waving from state houses. So it doesn't actually mean anything. It doesn't accomplish anything to say that.
And besides which, by the way, it's also not true that we don't have any official racism. Because, for example, imagine if there were still plenty of towns in some parts of Germany that were flying the swastika, right, the Nazi flag. And they said, no, it's to honor the brave men who fought in World War II. Some of them were brave, right? And they were our ancestors. That's our heritage. That's our ancestry. I don't know what you guys are all upset about. It's not official. Just happens to be in the state capital of Stuttgart and Hamburg and Dusseldorf, and we're still flying the Nazi flag. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
Well, so now you might not see the Confederate flag that way, but some people do, right? And when you fly it on Capitol grounds, you can't really say it's not official.
Yeah. Now, I want to play this second video of O'Reilly and Powers because you're going to see in how aggressively he goes after Powers. He feels something. This is a projection. This is emotion that's meant to mask his own thoughts about race in America. Let's watch.
The inside who hate this country so much, they're trying to take us down from within.
You know, you're making a lot of noise there, which is rude to Monica, and I don't think you want to be rude. You know, you're snorting out there, and I want you to knock it off, all right?
I am not snorting. I just can't. I just don't know what you guys are talking about, and I don't. This idea that you can say that
if you don't know what we're talking about, then you're not watching what's happening in the country.
Right, because unless I think just like you, then I must not be paying attention.
You're in a state of denial about what's happening. That's what you're in.
The thing that actually made me gasp, not snort, was this what Monica said that.
No, you're doing a derisive snort, and I want you to knock it off.
I am not, Bill. Why don't you knock it off? I'm trying to finish a sentence. I did not. You know, the issue that I made a noise about that upset you so much is this idea that there's something crazy about talking about the fact that slavery was part of this country's history. That there are people out there that believe this. That we believe this. This is what happened.
So what?
Here it got personal, man. It's about to get more personal. But Kirsten Powers I would be surprised if she was back on the O'Reilly factor. She might have spun her way out of the spin zone there because O'Reilly was pissed. Yeah. Why is he doing the projection? Why is he doing the denial? All that stuff. Because he feels this one, right? And he feels it's about him. Now, like when people talk about racism in the country, I never think like, wait, are they accusing me? Right? John doesn't think, wait, are they accusing me? Why does Bill think that they're accusing him, right? And so when he gets this, you're snorting, right? But she's about to make it more personal. Ooh, yeah. This is good stuff.
Let's watch.
There are actually a lot of people in this country who are racist, and you just refused. I really have to wonder, like.
All right. I have to wonder about why you can't see what's happening because most Americans are not racist. They're not.
Really? So how many black friends do you have? How many black friends do you have?
If you think most Americans are racist, I'm ashamed of you.
I'm asking you a serious question.
I'm ashamed of you.
First of all, I didn't say most Americans were racist.
You just said it.
I said, well, if I said that I meant that we have racism in this country.
Every country has it.
And that if you don't have. What? How would that make it okay?
It's not okay. It's not endemic.
But I don't understand how that's an answer.
They're getting a lot of currency. All right, ladies, good debate. We're not mad at you, Kirsten. I'm sorry if I mischaracterized what you were doing, all right? But I want respect for everyone.
That zoom in was awesome, JR.
And I love the
She's like,
I love the end of, I just want respect for everybody. Knock it off.
Yeah.
Knock it off. Okay.
Every white person, anyway.
Yeah. So there was a great Fox moment there where she says, there's a lot of racism in the country. He says, why are you calling most Americans racist? No, but she didn't call most Americans racist. Yeah. And that's a classic switcheroo by Bill O'Reilly so that people go, wait a minute, now, most Americans? I don't think most Americans are racist. I can't believe how unreasonable Kirsten Powers is. But that's because she didn't say that, right? Yeah. And then he switched it to, is it endemic? So now that's an interesting conversation, right? And I think that is a conversation that has two layers of nuance, none of which really came forward in the Fox News debate.
It's not allowed to by law.
Right. So one, there is a portion of the country that is just outwardly racist. So, and I'm not just talking about the KKK guys and the Dylan Roofs who go shoot up places or use the N-word for real, right? But people who, and I've seen, there's different stories that we've covered on the show where a woman will say, well, you know, look, blacks cause all the crime, and they complain about McKinney, but you know how they are. Of course, they're violent thugs, and we got to remove them from our pools. And then she will add, hashtag, I'm not a racist. Literally, that was in a story. Hashtag, I'm not a racist. Okay. No, here's what you're missing. You are. You are a racist, okay?
It's not one of the things that you get to define yourself as being or not.
Yeah. And then there's a second layer where there are stereotypes in our heads, And that's not just for racist people, it's not just for white people, it's in all of our heads, including black people's heads, right? So, you know, the famous brown eye, blue eye experiment, once you tell the kids with the blue eyes that they're inferior, they start to internalize it. If you tell them, you know, you're X or you're Y, they internalize it, and then they treat other kids with blue eyes in the same way as well. So this is a human phenomenon. To deny it is to deny humanity and what we know about psychology and what we've learned in science. I mean, it's not surprising that Fox News would deny what we've learned in science, right? But that is underlying in all of society. That's why it's so important to tackle those stereotypes, to defeat the broader racism that exists, not because people have bad intent or they're bad people, but because that's just the state of affairs that we have in this country because of the history and the culture of this country. Doesn't mean we can't get better. We have gotten better, and we'll continue to get better if we have an honest conversation about it instead of yelling at people and telling them, how dare you? We are the only non-racist country in the world.
But that we see is when we say, you know, many people are racist, they say, well, I can't be that. And the reason they're saying that is because racist can mean so many things popularly. It gets mixed in with terms like bias, discrimination, bigotry, things like that. Racist can mean you want everyone of a certain race to be killed. You want them to be wiped off the planet. Or it could go all the way down to perhaps not understanding a certain form of race-based privilege that you have, which is a very different thing. And I think we should be able to differentiate between those and acknowledge that maybe I am somewhere on that spectrum. I don't want to kill people. I don't bar my family members from dating certain people, but maybe I have some form of bias that I should be willing to recognize and learn based on, and not fear that if I get called a racist, I'm going to be locked away because of it or something like that. He is afraid that he is going to be labeled as the most virulent kind of racist. That's the problem, and he can't accept that.
Yeah, and rather, accepting that racism exists in the world and in this country doesn't make you a bad person, and doesn't mean you did it, unless, of course, you think you did do it, right? And by the way, is there racism in other countries? Of course! Is it sometimes worse than it is here? Yes. Yeah. Yes, okay? But it doesn't mean we should also do it. It means that we should get better.